Cross country, a mainstay sport in the winter sport world on the Paralympic winter roster since the very first games in Sweden in 1976, offers up 4 more sets of medals on day 3 of the Nordic programme here at Beijing 2022. Hello there, wherever you're watching, and welcome to the Zhangjiakou National Biathlon Centre, high in the mountains northwest of Beijing, for more long-distance racing. 24 hours after China dominated the men's and women's sitting events, today it's the turn of the standing and visually impaired athletes. 20-kilometre races in the men's events. That's 4 laps of the 5k loop here, a lap less for the women, giving a total race distance of 15 kilometres. And the action will be underway shortly, starting with the men's long distance standing. 5 Chinese racers in contention here, 3 dangerous Japanese, including a 3-time Paralympic winter champion and now 7 games veteran Nita Yoshihiro, and a medalist already at these games in the biathlon sprint, the bronze athlete Mark Arens there of Canada. A high quality field ready to go as we approach 10 a.m. local time in the mountains on this, the 3rd day of the Nordic events at the 2022 Paralympic Winter Games.
Conditions are mild and getting milder by the day. They've been working very hard overnight to prepare alpine, snowboard and cross-country courses, long distance standing in the classic style. So they were skiing freestyle technique in Pyeongchang, and some athletes prefer one style over the other. The men's event 4 years ago won by Ukraine's Ihor Repchuk. But here is the field for today, and a good spread of nations as always, but 5 from China as mentioned. We've got athletes also from Spain, Ukraine, Canada, Norway, Switzerland, Poland, 2 from Mongolia, which is great to see. And Kawayoki Taiki there, he'll go off 15th. Certainly a chance, having had a good win at the 2019 World Championships in the classic style, which is the parallel skiing technique in the tracks rather than the skating or freestyle, which we see as Mark Arens, which we see in biathlon events. And plenty of athletes can do both and compete in both events, of course, but it can be a specialist who pops up and wins this classic style.
Yeah, but Mark Arens there, his 9th career medal with that bronze on the first day of competition here at the Zhangjiakou National Biathlon Centre in the biathlon sprint event. So he is hotly tipped here to get amongst the medals once more. And what about Nita Yoshihiro, 41 years young, over 20 years on from his winter Paralympic debut at home all the way back in Nagano in '98. He's still going strong here. He's in his 7th games. What a career.
Yeah, he's a role model for a lot of Japanese skiers, cross-country and biathlon, including for Kawayoka, in fact. Nita's grandfather is a big influence on his life. He did blame himself for
well, this
his
is his
accident.
protege, actually, isn't it?
That's right. Kawayoki just idolizes him, and you know, some athletes are a role model whether they want to be or not. They don't set out to be, but they can be once others see them compete and see what they're doing and the fun that they're having. So, well, I'm in for that, and Nita has had that effect on a lot of Japanese skiers.
Yep, and there's a 3rd, a Japanese racer involved here as well in Iwamoto Keigo. But it's going to be very, very interesting to see the Chinese, as well as the performance of this guy, Witold Skupien, the 32-year-old Pole. Now then, he had an excellent world champs just 8 weeks ago in Lillehammer, silver in the 12.5-kilometre event. 3rd games in the cross-country and biathlon competitions at the Winter Paralympics, and we're good to go here. So they'll go off at 30-second intervals, starting with the Spaniard born in La Paz, Bolivia, but represents Spain these days. It is Paul Macori Redalad Garcia, and we are underway here in the men's long distance classical technique in the standing category. here on day 3 of the Nordic programme at these 15th Paralympic Winter Games. Paul Makuri Redolad Garcia, 88% factored time, the 31-year-old Spaniard.
By contrast, just 16 years of age is Serafim Drahun from Ukraine. A couple of top 20s at the 21 World Championships. Been skiing since a 10-year-old. He's been involved in football and tennis as well. And he's got a nice early rhythm going. It'll be a test of endurance, concentration and technique for 20 Ks.
43 on the bib, 47 is the age of Kjartan Haugen, one of our multi-decorated athletes racing today. 3-time world champion Kjartan, and 2 golds as well in previous Paralympic Winter Games. His first dating all the way back to Salt Lake City 20 years ago in the men's 5K Classic.
In bib 44, it's the 21-year-old Tsai Jia-yun from the city of Harbin, or the Ice City, the Ice and Snow Festival for which Harbin is famous. It was also a candidate city for previous Paralympic and Olympic Winter Games. No shortage of snow and cold temperatures where he's from.
So really strong host nation representation, as has been the case throughout the programme, the Nordic programme. Here it's Zhangjiakou. Next to go off is a 33-year-old Ma Mingtao from Beijing. It's his second Paralympic Winter Games there in Pyeongchang, up in the mountains at Alpenzia 4 years ago. And he was 10th in the long distance event. Of course, that was in the freestyle.
And the third of the Chinese competitors up now in Li Tai-yun, 26-year-old from Yunnan province in southwest China. We know that the Chinese have been training hard and successfully, but a few of them have flown under the radar. There's not a lot of results to throw a light on their chances, but we know they've all got the stamina required.
Made his Winter Games debut 4 years ago at just at 16, Wang Chenyang. Here he is again, 11th in the long distance in Pyeongchang. Best finish was 10th with the Chinese relay squad 4 years ago. Also has an 8th place finish in the World Champs. So that's for the Chinese athletes away, and we have Xu Mingyang to come. That's Paul Makuri Redolad Garcia, who was first to go, the 31-year-old. Wanting to lead from the front, 88% of factored time. We'll talk you through the various sporting classifications in due course here, and Serafim Drahun of Ukraine following, and then Kjartan Haugen just a little bit further back at 47. What a career he's had, and still competitive here in a Paralympic winter final.
So we've got checkpoints around the course that help us get an overall view of how the athletes are travelling, who's making their move. And there's the factoring system, the LW8s and LW9s with greater degree of impairment, up to LW9, 5 and 7, down sort of around 80% of their time is factored. 42 and 43 travelling along quite nicely. As Drahun still got that, he's a long sort of lean figure, just doing it easily, comfortably. It's this puzzle that they have to solve, how much energy to spend early, just pace it out across the full 20 Ks so that there's something left in the last lap.
Yeah, Kai's gone out quickly. Kai Jia-yun, a 21 28-year-old from the host nation. They're still leaving the start gate, by the way. We've seen Iwamoto, Keigo, and the two Mongolians, Gambold, Batman, Dashdoj, Sigmid, take to the course. Xu Mingyang, and 52 here, the bib worn by Luka Tavarsky from Switzerland, 28 years of age. They call him Tabasco. He wants a bit of heat and a bit of speed here. Next, out of the gate, into the race here. This is the men's long distance classical technique in the standing category here at the para cross country events at Beijing 2022.
Here is Nitta. We've talked about him, the influence he has on the younger athletes coming through for Japan. 3 gold, 1 silver, 1 bronze at Paralympic Winter Games. 12 top 10s at World Championships. He's done it all and keeps doing it.
So Nitta away at 41, a great career. Speaking of great careers, Alexander Ayler, 52 years young, and here he is racing in another Paralympic Winter Games. Bronze with the Germans in the relay event in Pyeongchang. It's his second race, actually, here in Zhangjiakou. He unfortunately came last in the biathlon sprint event.
Kawayoki Taiki. Ready to go. And 4 years ago, 9th in Pyeongchang, but he was only 17 years of age then, and a bit stronger, a bit more experience, and more kilometres under the skis, starting to accumulate the results to put him in our thinking today.
Well, there's a feeling that this guy is perhaps peaking at the right time. Witold Skupien is yet to make the top spot in a podium at the previous Paralympic Winter Games, all world champs, but twice a silver medalist at the Worlds, most recently in the 12.5K in Lillehammer just 8 weeks ago. It's his third Games. First appearance was at Sochi.
Mark Arends will have big expectations on himself, and Canada hoping for the best as well. The 32-year-old from Canmore, 3 gold at World Championships. He won the biathlon 15K in Pyeongchang, second at the World Championships in cross country 2019. On his day, must be considered right up there, and we've got the field away.
Yep, they're all racing now. So our athletes starting at 30-second intervals. Factored time is an issue here. So the higher the degree of impairment, the slower the clock runs in effect. The clock is adjusted in real time and operates differently, runs differently for each skier. It makes the results for different classes comparable without compromising the impact of different types of severities of impairments on the competition here. So far so good for the Chinese racers. It's Kai operating at a 92% factored time, who leads at present, and Tavarsky has done well, the Swiss racer, to eat into the deficit.
So athletes in the LW9 category with least impairment, designed for skiers who've got an impairment in arms and legs, but have mild coordination problems in their extremities. But then down to LW3 and 4 also in this race. So it's a question of degree of impairment and the time factored accordingly, as we're explaining. So I hope that's good for you. And on the right, you can see constant reminder of the factoring for each athlete. And really this system brought into play because there weren't enough competitors in individual categories to warrant races for each. So put them together and find out a way to make a level playing field, and that's how the classification system works.
That's Alexander Ayler, actually born in Kazakhstan, but a naturalised German these days. A reasonably late starter as well to the para-Nordic scene. Raced in Pyeongchang, 5th in the individual event, the men's a 7.5K in Alpenzia 4 years ago. And then we see Bib 55, Kawayoki Taiki, the young gun from Japan. He's got big shoes to fill if he wants to get up to the level of Nita Yoshihiro, and the longevity and the palmares of that distinguished Japanese skier.
Well, the 3 Chinese competitors, Tsai, Li and Ma, come through one of the early checkpoints in good time. And Ma, Mintao, now they've got all 4 through in impressive style. So it's not unexpected. A few days into competition, it might have been before we got underway in Beijing and Zhangjiakou. It's very clear that China is already a force in cross-country and biathlon.
Just coming past Iwamoto Keigo there is one of our 2 Mongolians in the race. And that's the second of them, Dashdoj Sigmid, at just 20. Great to see Mongolian representation here. They have 3 athletes, all told, involved in the Paralympic Winter Games. Also have a para-alpine skier, but 2 in the cross-country here, Mongolia. Yes, if you head out of Zhangjiakou northwest, you hit the Mongolian border about 500 kilometers from here. An interesting part of the world, isn't it?
Yeah, Ganbal Batmunk is the other Mongolian competitor. He's 30 years of age. He's actually been the flag bearer 3 times. I just can't get it off him. He's from Ulaanbaatar, as is Sigmid. He's had a few top 20s, has Batmunk, at World Championships and Paralympics.
So Tavaski there, coming past Chu Mingyang. That's one of our home athletes, the 33-year-old Chu. It's worth noting the success China have had so far. It was a spectacular opening day here at Zhangjiakou for the home nation, with 5 medals in biathlon, 2 of them gold, and then 4 medals on the opening day of the para cross country here 24 hours ago, including 2 gold medals. It's only the United States and Canada, the other nations, on the podium actually on the opening day.
Li Taiyun making good progress in the tracks. You see the skiers will step out of the tracks and adopt that sort of herringbone ascending style, and a mixture of wax applied to the skis in this classic technique for cross country. Glide wax front and back and some grip in the middle. Put some pressure on the skis when they're going uphill. Get some grip. And Tsai Jiayun going along nicely in prime position. His teammates aren't far behind him. Haugen of Norway has started well, as has Drahun of Ukraine.
Yeah, so we saw on the graphic there as we race with Kai, the reference there to his sporting class, LW8, denoting athletes who have moderate impairments affecting one arm. So that can be a range of issues. For example, unable to flex the elbow or fingers on one side, or have a below the elbow amputation using one ski pole only. And that's the case here with Kai, currently our race leader in the men's long distance on day 2 of the Para cross country events at Beijing 2022.
You'd expect through the early kilometres that they would hold their form nicely, as Tai is doing. A lot of preparation and thought goes into the type of wax supplied, depending on the conditions, the snow temperature, the air temperature. Haugen, bottom of screen there. A veteran from Oslo. Previous gold medalist in Salt Lake and Torino. At his 5th Paralympic Winter Games. Back with Tsai. They come through this start-finish area and almost always take a look over the left shoulder at the big screen that is offering them some guide to the race progress, with times up there and their opponents, their times, and you see how you're travelling, as well as what the coaches offer around the course, as is happening now.
Yeah, so that was Haugen coming past the Kai. That's Kai there with 44 on his bib. And then Li Taiyun, Ma Mingtao thereafter, and Wang Chenyang. It's been a good, strong start from the 4 of our 5 Chinese athletes.
So one of the 5 kilometre loops completed already by our front runners and our early starters. This is Tavaski, Switzerland.
Yeah, Tavaski in his 2nd games was there in Pyeongchang, been competing at the World Champs since Finsterau in Germany in 2017. Good to see him here back at the Winters.
He's being offered a drink on the way past. I had a little shake of my head there. Just, is he really being offered that rather well-known soft drink, or is it something else? It might have just been in that bottle, but it was the right colour. Anyway, they've all got their secret formula for the drinks that they like to have out on the course and in these endurance events. These tracks machine prepared. And 2 tracks obviously to allow passing.
So racing again with Ayla, the grizzled veteran from Germany. Has a difference in leg length of more than 8 centimetres due to a motorbike accident. But a real hardened competitor, and represented Germany in both the cross-country and the biathlon at the Paralympic Winters in 2018.
Kawayoki and Mark Ahrens there. Ahrens, who started a minute behind Kawayoki. With the different time factoring for these two. Kawayoki 80% and Ahrens 90%.
Yep, Ahrens highly fancied here to get in the medal conversation. And there he is. He's had a terrific career as well. 32 now, Mark Ahrens had a fabulous start to his Paralympic Winter Games career. Was there in Vancouver at home 12 years ago now, that.
Tsai Jia-yun adopting an almost a jogging style up this incline. A notable absentee is Davier of France, Benjamin Davier, 5th at the 2019 World Championships. He is here, but opting out of this one, perhaps focusing more on the freestyle events, in particular biathlon. Skupien 31 seconds down on Kawayoke through that checkpoint.
Yeah, 30 seconds down at present, we're told, Skupien. But a feeling that tapering his form, ideally, coming into these games with that impressive showing in Lillehammer. Most unusual, actually, that we've had a Para-Nordic world champ so close to a Paralympic Winter Games. The world champs were initially scheduled for a year ago in Lillehammer, that great winter sport venue in Norway, but had to be put back because of the pandemic, meaning that it's a high-level competition, or 2 high-level competitions in the space of just 8 or 9 weeks here at the start of 2022. Skopje with a silver medal in the 12.5K.
So Wang coming through, 1:06 outside his teammate Tsai at that point.
Yep, and there we see a number of our athletes coming towards the end of that finishing straight, including Wang there, 47, and then Gambold Batmunk, one of the Mongolian racers, 51, that's Xu Mingyang. 80% sporting classification for Xu. 53 there, Anita Yoshihiro. And then bringing up the rear in that shot, Xu Mingyang, there he is.
So through the 5.9K, it was Tsai and Li, the 2 Chinese competitors. Haugen, a minute and 12 behind Tsai Jian, but it's so early in the race, we won't take too much from that. What we've seen so far in earlier races, though, is that the Chinese competitors can go out hard and just maintain that pace, and they're very hard to catch. They've surprised a few here. That's Kawayuki, one of the favourites, making comfortable progress around the course at the moment.
I love what Kawayuki said. It's his reason for really trying to knuckle down and be competitive in the Para-Nordic events after watching Nitta have so much success and get his gold medals at the 2010 games in Vancouver. He decided that's what he was going to dedicate himself to, filling the boots of Nitta, and here they are racing against each other. Gold and bronze, by the way, for Kawayuki at the 2019 Worlds in Prince George in Canada.
So he's going to come through. Kawayuki. How's that time of Aaron's going to hold up? 13:11. He could just be inside it. Indeed he is, by 8 seconds. So a promising first lap from Kawayuki. Well, have we got a withdrawal here? We did think that Alexander Ehler was struggling. Yes, he's a veteran, but the form just wasn't there. It looked a real battle on the earlier incline we saw. It just didn't look like he had it today.
No, it's a shame, actually. He struggled as well in the biathlon event on day 1, didn't he, Ehler? Finished bottom of that sprint event, but well, plenty more opportunities to be competitive here. This
shake of the head, and he's just not feeling right. Yeah. You can see the hand goes to the chest, and he may not be 100%, and a reassuring arm put around him by one of the jury and race officials. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, the sprint to come, a middle distance event as well, and the Germans, they always have decent relay teams, don't they? So maybe there'll be better days to come for Ehler and the Germans. 46, Li Taiyun from China.
See, when the technique just breaks down a little bit, there'll be some slipping of the skis. Now that can be technique, or it can be the kick wax wearing off. 57 seconds down is Nitta. Yes, it's a problem over the endurance events, the wax holding up to do its job for the full race distance. Sometimes described as a bit of a dark art, the application and composition of the wax for these cross-country and biathlon competitors. Not so much in biathlon, but certainly in cross-country, where there's a mix of waxes applied to the ski.
So Nitta moving up through the field, so to Wang Chen Yang there, almost a minute 30 down on our race leading time. That's the Shu, Ming Yang, just a 5.8 outside, so good starts really across the board from our Chinese runners. And coming around the bend there, the 49, that's Ganbold Batmunk of Mongolia. Back racing with Kawayoki Daiki.
Still got a number of days of competition, clearly, and the weather is posing a few problems. It's got so mild, it's still around just below zero as we follow Arends up in Zhangjiakou, but in the capital, Beijing, temperatures this week could get into even the low 20s, which is extraordinary for early spring. But we've been told to expect that. It's unpredictable. Of course, holding up all right today, though. And so is Kawayoki.
Yes. The venue cluster at Zhangjiakou, about 188 kilometers northwest of Beijing, and of 3 venue clusters used for events at the Winter Games and the Paralympic Winter Games. So it really is a test of the mental acuity, almost as much as the physical endurance required to get to the head of the field in the long distance races.
Kawayoki, they're taking a drink, and his team official running after to get the bottle that had been cast aside, make sure that's not a problem for following athletes. All consideration given, which is good to see. And Kawayoki now starting to make genuine impression on the Chinese competitors. Arends likewise. And unfortunately, we've got that withdrawal from Ayla. You know, they take so much pride, don't they, in just finishing a race. So it really would have hurt him to have to withdraw. Even if he didn't finish in a top 10 position, Ayla would have been wanting so badly to complete the race. And he's done the sensible thing. He was clearly distressed. Watching Scipion. .50 is Segmed from Mongolia. Ma Mingtao. So the athletes with double arm impairments, not carrying skis, can have an added challenge getting a purchase on the uphill sections. That's when the kick wax, you hope, is going to work for you.
Tavaski.
I think he enjoys that nickname of Tabasco. He got the red uniform on. Nice and hot.
Fire to the ice here, isn't he?
Yeah. Kui Ming Yang holding form nicely.
And Shu 8.9 down there for China, 8.9 inside Kai's time. Iwamoto with work to do.
The longest climb on each of the laps is 34 meters. Looking at a map profile of the course they're tackling, these 5 kilometers, the main part of the ascent is in the first third of the lap. So then there's opportunities just to relax a little, a few downhill sections to tuck in and get some breath back. But the majority of the climb, certainly in the first kilometre or so.
Well, there's no losing sight of him in the dark, Kjartan Haugen. That's some ski suit, isn't it? The world's most decorated winter Paralympian, by the way, is a Norwegian. Ragnhild Myklebust won 27 medals, including 22 golds in cross-country, as well as the former Paralympic sport of ice sledge racing.
Oh, Kawayoki's having a great second lap here, really putting in the big effort and extending his lead. Shortly we will have a start to our second race. These are going to overlap. It's coming in for a change of gear as Tsai stepping into a fresh pair of skis. May have felt that the first set were not waxed to maximum effect. There's a look over that left shoulder to see how much time he's lost and where he sits in the competition. It's the vision impaired race not far away from starting. Makes for a slightly chaotic scene as the two races go simultaneously, but it gets the job done efficiently too.
So, Cai Jiayun then for China. Still really competitive at the head of the field. Witold Skupien from Poland, looking to bring it for the Europeans. We've had Germany on the podium in biathlon, Ukraine on the podium in biathlon. But, the Europeans want to do something in the cross-country, and this is perhaps an opportunity for Skupien.
And another of the Chinese athletes coming in for a change, Li Taiyun. It's interesting, the breakup of the field. Got 11 countries and 17 competitors, and 10 of them from the Asian region, China, Mongolia and Japan. Made me think of it, as you mentioned, Poland and Europe through Skupien. Really a very strong representation from this part of the world.
Yeah, 5 Chinese athletes alone in this race. They're 33 strong, actually, the Chinese Para-Nordic squad. Really knuckled down and taken their athletes to the Nordic training base.
Well, here is the scene back at the start gate as the vision impaired field gets ready. 8 competitors lining up from 8 different countries. There is the field. Ariasu to lead them off. Shu to represent China. Oksal, Norway. Inola, Finland. Grabowski of Poland. Then Adikov of the United States. Moden of Sweden. And the great Brian McKeever, at 42 years young, says it'll be his last Paralympic Winter Games. There is Sebastian Moden. And at 27, he is something of a veteran. This is his 4th Paralympic Winter Games. And his guide is Emil Jonsson Haag.
Yeah, this is where it all gets interesting with them out on the course. It really does. So we'll endeavour to keep you abreast of proceedings. 2 races simultaneously, but of course this VI, the vision impaired category, really will be a question of can McKeever do it 20 years into his winter Paralympic career. So Ariasu Riohei away first for Japan, the 35-year-old. Actually born in San Francisco, but now a naturalized Japanese, lives in Chofu, away first in the VI long distance.
The 29-year-old Shu He from Tangshan took up the sport 5 years ago, on his way. He's also dabbled in para-athletics, coached by Fu Chanshan. And so most of the Chinese Nordic skiers will be pursued by Thomas Oxal.
Yeah, 8 races going in this this VI event for the men.
Here is the Finn, Inki Inola.
Yeah, Finland next out. That's 23, Inki Inola. And that's his guide, Jari Teppo Huta. So 23 from Lokar in Finland. It's another Paralympic winter experience. He was there in Pyeongchang, 10th in the long distance event.
This the veteran 48-year-old Peter Garbowski of Poland. 4 top 10s in Pyeongchang in cross country and 8 at World Championships 2017, 19 and 21. Has been around a while. Can he put that experience to good use today? Most of them are just used to seeing the back of Brian McKeever. It has to be said that here's Jake Adikoff, not without his chances.
Yeah, Jake from Sun Valley, Idaho, 3rd Paralympic Winter Games. Started out in Sochi and on the podium at the end of the middle distance event in Pyeongchang. Silver medalist, but he had an excellent World Champs. 3 times on the podium, a gold, a silver and bronze.
Sebastian Modin. He's been a stalwart at Paralympic Games. I say that at 27. He began his Paralympic Winter Games career as a 15-year-old. This is his 4th Winter Games. So he's 15 in Vancouver. He's had 3 silver and 2 bronze in previous games. He was bronze medalist in the long distance in Sochi 2014.
Now then, what about this guy? Just the 13 golds in Paralympic Winter Games, dating back 20 years, all the way back to Salt Lake City 2002. And the World Champs as well. He's absolutely blitzed it down the years. Brian McKeever, he's a legend in Paralympic winter sport from Canmore. And born in Calgary, the heartland of the Canadian winter sports scene.
He's right on the back of the skis of his guide here. He takes 2 guides often because he wears them out. He's so quick. He's got Russell Kennedy and Graham Nishikawa if needed. You mentioned the 13 gold, 17 gold at World Championships. Back to the long distance standing. And the standings therein.
Yeah, so just to keep you fully up there with proceedings out on the track here at Zhangjiakou, we have 2 races being run simultaneously. The men's long distance classical technique in the standing category, and the men's long distance classical technique in VI, that's vision impaired. And we have a couple more races as well to bring you on this 3rd day of the Para-Nordic competition at Beijing 2022 with the women's long distance standing and the women's VI as well.
Kawayoki, we saw his lead is nearly out to a minute, coming in for a gear change. That's Wang Chenyang. Nothing wrong with the skis though for Kawayoki. He's gobbling up this course. And at 21, what a talent we're seeing.
Yeah.
A very strong start made by the Chinese contingent, but Kawioki starting to take control of the race.
That's Wang Chenyang. And indeed, decisions to be made in terms of that wax application that you've mentioned. And one or two occasions, part of the race management at China. Still doing the business here. But looking good for Kawioki Taiki of Japan at present.
Just down into that tuck position. Get some more oxygen into the lungs. The shortest of reprieves, but make the most of it. Puts the elbows on the thighs and sets off once more. It's not just the wax kind of wearing off the skis, but the conditions themselves can change. And the support teams are constantly thinking and working out what's the best to be giving their athlete. Here's a sharpish climb, and Kawioki has got the goods to tackle it strongly still. A little bit of a shoulder roll, but he's still holding his form primarily. Quite different technique from Arends, isn't it? 22 seconds to the good of Tsai. See how there's really no snow away from the course. Batmunk from Mongolia coming through.
Yeah, so the race leaders at present have hit the 13.5k mark. They've got 20 kilometres all in. This is the long distance event. Of course, our cross-country athletes, our para-biathlete racers compete over the sprint distance, the speed distance, middle distance, and here the long distance events. And in cross country there'll be a pair of relays as well on the final day of competition.
50 seconds the lead now for Kawioki, in frame in our picture, holding his cadence well. The skis are doing the job at the moment for the young Japanese. Probably the first person he'll want to embrace if he can hold this together for the rest of the distance would be Nitta Yoshihiro, a 6-time Paralympian and hero for Kawioki. That moment is a long way off. Has he gone out too hard, too early?
Yep, taking on a bit of fuel as we return to the VI race. Jake Adikoff has made a good start for the United States.
Garbowski climbing this early hill. There's quite a few of them, as we've mentioned. And this is Wang in the standing race. He's well down on our leaders now, particularly Kawioki. Briefly saw Iwamoto there in the background, 48 for Japan.
A bib 53.
That's Nitta going through. And you see how important it is to have the two sets of tracks as faster skiers come through, and we've got two races underway at the same time, as Redela Garcia of Spain, who was first out of the gate in the classic standing race, continues his journey, as does Marc Arends of Canada.
Yeah, pole there, first out of the gate. Arendts of Canada last out of the gate. So out on the course with Brian McKeever, his great colleague in the Canadian squad. And the two guys as well from the Maple Leaf Nation who are going for medals in their respective events here as well. So Serafim Drahun there of Ukraine.
Just a boy in a man's race, isn't he, really, at 16, but already has the technique.
And then Tavaski running along in around about 11th place at the midway point. 340 down, so provisional 6th here.
Bib 50, Dashtoj Segmet of Mongolia. It's really only been cross-country skiing in the last 4 years. Formerly involved in horse riding. Here comes Kui Meng Yang.
Yeah, challenge to maintain the technique. The deeper we get into this race, and sort of keep those knees high and keep that traction, keep skiing effectively as the limbs start to burn in the latter part of this race. Up at the 15k mark, it's Kai Jae-yun and Kjartan Haugen thereafter, who look like they're going to be the first finishers with a reference time.
Kawaioke. Just into that herringbone style either side of the tracks. That was interesting to observe. His style, once he's into the ascent, then he steps out beside the tracks, but the first few strides was either side of the tracks. And that he knows exactly what he's doing. He is our race leader and doing it very well. Got some endurance and his very own style. Different ways to get it done. I love watching the way the athletes work it out. Yeah.
There for the Chinese. So 5 from China in this race, 33 all told, competing in the cross-country and biathlon here at their home circuit in the Zhangjiakou Mountains. This National Biathlon Centre has produced some great stories, some great moments in the Winter Games, and here at the Paralympic Winter Games. You've got a week stretching out of terrific competition, by the way, in the cross-country and the biathlon. After this particular session, the cross-country takes a break for 24 hours. It's biathlon next up on the programme in 24 hours' time before the next cross-country races, which will be the sprint races in 48 hours, and then a middle distance towards the end of the programme, and then to round off the cross-country here in Beijing 2022, it'll be the mixed and open relays.
Oh, Kawaioke just looks to be the man of steel at the moment. Good run in the skis. Plenty of energy left in the legs. Plenty of oxygen in the lungs. You've probably heard it mentioned that this is a very high altitude for Nordic skiing, over 1,500 meters, and they're more used to something under 1,000. It makes a significant difference to the available oxygen. The air's quite thin. Breeze is down today, back around from the west, not much of it. The conditions are good, but it's also taking away the snow from the surrounding slopes. Removed it all, as you can see. So it's artificial snow, which does present a little differently to the natural snow, but the athletes are used to it. They get a mixture of both around the world at the various competitions that they go to when they're allowed to.
Xu Mingyang, 80% factored time. So 33.16.2 at 12.3 kilometers. Fighting it out with Kai, that the battle within the Chinese squad, and then racing briefly with Dashdoj Sigmid, the Mongolian, who was 10th at the Lillehammer World Champs, just at 20 years of age. Fascinating, isn't it, to see the spread of ages in these cross-country and biathlon events, 50-somethings all the way down to teenagers. Xu.
So they come through various checkpoints that can give you a misleading picture. It looks like he's briefly in the lead, but that's because Koyoke has not come through that particular checkpoint. But here he is, about to pass Mao Mingtao.
I think that guy coming from behind there is doing quite well.
And the lead is extending. He's just looked like he's so primed for this race. He is giving it everything. A little slip there, and that can be fatigue. Or, as we mentioned, a breakdown in the wax, but he'll know. It's getting up, get that out of the way. That's that's okay. Slight moment of chaos. All good now. The team's very mindful of keeping it a fair competition for everybody. Don't want any stray bottle left in a track. That's not going to happen. Mark Arends, factor of 90%. How's he feeling? It's a very careful, efficient style that he brings to it. Served him well.
Canadian flag bearer at the closing ceremony of the 2018 Paralympic Winter Games in Pyeongchang. He's a big star. Back in his homeland is Mark Arends, the first Canadian athlete, by the way, to win 6 medals at a single edition of the Paralympic Winter Games, with a gold, 2 silvers and 3 bronzes in both the biathlon and cross-country at Pyeongchang.
So Jayun there holding it together nicely. Still good technique. Arends coming through. He's just outside that time of Tsai as they come through the main stadium area where the biathlon shooting range is also located. Doubling up is the National Biathlon Centre for both biathlon and cross-country for the Paralympic Winter Games. Witold Skupien. So 13 top 10s at World Championships.
Yeah, it can be a lonely place out there at times, can't it? At the far reaches of the loop.
Koyoke wants to be as lonely as possible, just leave them all behind him, because he's going to catch other athletes and pass them. But at the moment, no one is matching his pace, his rhythm, his determination. Unless he hits some kind of mental and physical wall. Hard to see him being beaten. Classic champion at the 19 World Championships.
Yeah, going really well still here. The Kawayuki Taiki.
Didn't mean to do that. Now that's not great. He's throwing away his headband and he's getting too hot, but he's left it in the way of a following skier. I hope a course official comes on and removes that. It was either a neck warmer or a headband. I can't be sure of which, but needs to get off the course. It's right in the way. I won't be pleased with him for doing that.
Well, Ren's off the podium at present, but only by 4 or so seconds. He'll be reasonably confident of making that up the deeper we get into this race. Kai up at the head of the field has come through 17.5 kilometres.
See what Kawayoki's doing there? He's looking at the big screen, seeing what sort of a lead he has over whom. Sometimes the board can take a bit of reading, and if they've actually got up there at the moment the other race, the vision impaired, then it won't be much help to him at all, except to confirm perhaps that Brian McKeeve is probably winning.
So Nitta, 4 years ago in Pyeongchang, with the gold medal for Japan, that in the 10K. Also in this standing class. The camera hasn't picked out Nitta too much. Instead, it's been his compatriot here, Kawayoki Taiki, who's running a splendid race.
Tsai Jia-yun getting a lung full of instructions and encouragement from the team as he tucks in once more.
So Kai, 92% of his real time. That'll be his finishing time. That's paying due respect to the sort of equalisation processes. Bringing all our competitors with their various different impairments towards something of a level playing field, really. It's a set of complicated formulas that do that, but necessary formulas to equalise out the field, if you will.
4 laps of 5Ks. The actual lap length is 4,802 metres, so a little bit shy of the full 20 Ks. Don't think the skiers will mind that. Mind you, when you look at the conditions, there couldn't be a better day to go racing. Mild temperature, very little wind. The snow, not quick. Kai with this right-hander and then steep climb to tackle next. Slips straight back into the tracks. Bringing it home pretty strongly. Might be taking a few seconds out of some others.
Kai from Jiaodong didn't have to go too far to join up with the national para squad and that intensive training camp. 55 days of it in preparation for the Paralympic Winter Games here in Heilongjiang province, under the influence of coach Zhu Dewen. His charges have really delivered so far in the Nordic events here at Beijing 2022, but set to be outdone here as things stand at the moment by the 21-year-old Japanese.
Tsai Jia-yun now having a look off to the left to see the situation up this last little climb. Holding it together well. And has got a little bit left too. Really big effort. As he'll be first down to the line. Tsai Jia-yun will post a time to beat. Around 54.5 minutes. There we go, 54.27. He's done.
Agony.
Yeah.
But what a race from Tsai Jia-yun. So the real time, 59:11.9, but because of that 92% factored time, that gives him 54:27.7, which is our reference here. Give that man a hug.
Well, such are their powers of recovery. The heart rate will be dropping quite quickly. Yeah, the legs will be burning, but he knows he's somehow got to get himself out of the way of those finishing behind him, including Li Tai-yuan. He's still got a bit to do.
Yeah, so that's another Chinese racer here, Ma Ming-tao.
Big pardon, yep.
Clubhouse leader.
Wang Chenyang. Being told just where he is, what he can still do and what's left of the race. 56 is Little Skupian from Poland. He's a couple of minutes behind the time of Kawayoke.
Yeah, 1:44 in fact. So a lot to do here.
But another finish in the form of Kauten Haugen in 59:29. So he's about 5 minutes behind Tsai Jia-yun of China. So 2 have completed.
Yeah, I'm going to see the next over the line in Li Tai-yun. As we get a broader sense of the reference times here, as our later finishers complete the racing. The end of this 20K, this grueling, aggressive slog that requires powers of endurance and stamina and the mental strength as well.
Kui Mingyang is coming up behind Redelad Garcia of Spain.
So our next finisher, Li Tai-yun, 56.47. That's over 2 minutes, 2:19 down on Kai, but pushes Haugen down into third place at present.
So it just slots in between Tsai and Haugen. Just 3 across the line so far. Started with 17. We've had that one withdrawal, Alexander Ehler of Germany, so hopefully we'll have 16 finish the race. And will they all be looking at this man's time as the one to beat, one that can't be beaten? It's Kawayoke. Still getting it done. Just absolutely attacking this climb. It's like he's found another effort.
Yeah, he's really feeling it here. Is Kawayuki Taiki. Comes past the Spanish racer, Paul Mercuri Redolad Garcia. And then just up ahead, bib 51, that's Xu Mingyang. But Kawayuki, he looks so determined, doesn't he?
Well, such an athlete. I'm just amazed and impressed by his stamina and speed. And his aggression across the full race distance. Just goes and goes. There's a little bit of a breakdown there for him in technique, but gets it back together quickly. Got to be feeling some fatigue, and the decision making can deteriorate with that fatigue. And the legs don't quite do what you ask of them, as they fill up with all the wrong chemicals. He's still too good at this stage, though, Kawayuki.
Comes past Xu Mingyang. And of course it hurts, but he looks in control. He really does. 53 and 57 there. That's Nita Yoshihiro. And Mark Arendz still going well. And well in the hunt for a podium spot here. Arendz, it would be his second of these games.
Just a gentle breeze making its way across the complex at Zhangjiakou. Having said that, in parts of the course it sounds like there might be a bit more. Go whistling across the microphones, but the flags in the stadium, not too much going on there. And looking for a way past is Arendz. He's a bit blocked here, and this is not ideal. He's slot in there behind Nita as they get past one of the vision impaired skiers, that being Poland's Peter Gobowski. And that was the second or two he couldn't afford to lose. But here he comes into the finish area, and another slip or two from Kawayuki. He does look like he's hurting now, but the finish line is not too far away.
It really isn't. 54.27.7 the time. He's comfortably inside at the moment.
Arendz is going to be outside the time of tie, but better than Lee. So Arendz on your left there. 53 is Nita. And Arendz 16 seconds outside Sai, so into second position he goes.
Well, looking good for another spot on the podium here, Mark Arendz of Canada. Already a bronze in the sprint event in biathlon. And the Paralympic Winter Games success story set to continue. Mark Arendz of Canada, but here comes the man we expect to carry off the gold.
Try and get the athletes out of the way of the finishers. But Kawayuki Taiki is coming down into the finish area. That's Nita.
Yep.
that is a very low crouch. They've still got the flexibility and the strength in the knees. This is a nice time to relax. And if he's sensing that he's got this race well won, I wonder what the thoughts might be right now. He cannot let his mind drift from the process. He's relaxing a little longer than he might otherwise.
freewheeling it home here, isn't he? Kawayuki Taiki. You mentioned it earlier, the opportunity to look up the big screen and sort of gauge where you are and what you need to do, and to what extent you can lift your foot off the pedal.
Yeah, if he thinks and knows he's got it by a minute, then he's just really enjoying the moment. And here he comes. Kawayuki has made these skis sing to his tune.
So 49.4 with just a short distance to go here to bring it home for Japan. Kawayuki Taiki, that reference time, Kai Jia-yun's 54.27. And at the last checkpoint, Kawayuki had, well, a minute 30 on that.
He's just chasing Kui Mingyang at the moment. Just the energetic style that he's been able to maintain throughout the race. It's been too much for the opposition. Incredibly fit. He's just developed a super efficient style. Another moment to relax. And then get set for a last surge. Not in any great hurry to get past Kui Mingyang.
So Tavaski will finish 6:42 behind Kai, down in 6th place as things stand now, the Swiss. So another who has really given everything.
As he thoughtfully moves himself well away from that finish line before collapsing to the snow. And here we go. A stellar moment for Japan and for Kawayuki Taiki at 21. Is he to be a Paralympic Winter Games champion in cross country? It certainly looks like it. He's absolutely flying to the line.
54.27, the time of Kai. Kawayuki has it, and then some. Brilliant performance from start to finish by Kawayuki. It's going to be a gold medal here for Japan in the men's long distance in para cross country. A fabulous performance, he knows, and by over a minute 30 in the final shake-up from Kai Jia-yun. We have further finishes to come, of course we do, but Kawayuki is the king.
And who was that came over to assist him? Kai Jia-yun. That's the kind of sporting spirit we love about these games. Very generous gesture. A nod to the champion from the runner-up. I don't think your Paralympic moments get much better than that. Nor for this man.
Well, Xu Mingyang's 54.29. That's pushed Mark Arentz off the podium. It's Japan, China, and China. As we see, Paul Redolad Garcia coming in 12 minutes behind the leading time at 1:05, 1:14 all in, but with the factored time, that makes it 1:05, our 9th finisher. But he's the man, Kawayuki Taiki. It was Nita Yoshihiro for Japan, winning the gold 4 years ago. Here in Beijing, though, it's Kawayuki Taiki. Skupien. Hasn't happened for him today, the Pole. Had an excellent World Champs. But sometimes the stars don't align, and I'm afraid that's happened today for Witold Skupien.
Serafim Drahun of Ukraine off to the left there. Whoops, watch out. I didn't have an eye for what was happening behind them, and they should have.
Ma coming in 5:40 down into 7th place. Two more finishes, Batman being one of them.
It's the Mongolian into 11th place. Meantime, Kawayoki is strolling around. He's got his breath back. He's really soaking up this moment on the left there, draped in the rising sun. Looks like there just should be 3 to come in now to complete this race. Turn our attention to the vision impaired standing long distance. Skupien coming in. Not his best day, perhaps, but still a top 5.
Yeah, past the 55-minute mark. 54.29 was the bronze mark of Xu Mingyang. So it'll be a 5th here for Skupien at 2:30 down. Well,
he's probably thinking, I've given it everything. How did Kawayoki beat me by that much? Well, he's a young star, Kawayoki, and the feeling you get from a performance like that is, well, the world's his oyster in terms of future cross-country success. Oh well, another day. Just misses out on a medal. Skupien in 5th place. Ilmoto and Segmed perhaps still out on the course, but there are your standings.
So Japan win the men's long distance standing classic with Kawayoki Taiki, and another 2 medals for China, a silver and bronze. That takes their Nordic haul to 11 here at these games. But no peace or rest for the wicket. We're going to turn our attentions now to the VI race. There was a brief overlap, but no surprise to see Makiva, the big favourite, throwing it down here for the Canadians.
Yeah, we mentioned at the top those 13 Paralympic Winter Games gold medals, and he's unbeatable in form, and he's really not in form. 13 gold, 2 silver, 1 bronze at Paralympic Winter Games, 17 gold at World Championships. That's going back to 2003 in cross country. He's dabbled in biathlon, but really this is his preferred style, preferred event. And Russell Kennedy leading him. Was often guided by his brother Robin, who's a successful coach these days.
Yeah, absolutely sensational career. It's Adikov and Zhu thereafter in the men's VI race. 3 categories here, B1, B2 and B3. Makiva, as we see Zhu's time there, 37. And Modin just moving into the frame, actually. The Swede, Modin, who had a poor day in the biathlon sprint event, the first day of the Nordic competitions here at Beijing 2022. And it really hurting Modin. Led out by his guide, Emil Jonsson Haag.
There's a little loudspeaker on the belt at the rear of the guide to call the instructions to Sebastian. We go back, catch Makiva. Well, you know you've made it when you feature in a Super Bowl ad, which is what was the case for the Makiva brothers. Oh, goodness, he's down. That's That's Adikov. Yes.
Difficult moment there for Jake Adikov. Great correction, though. So up quickly and in that standing position again. And no doubt the calming words of the guide there, Sam Wood, will be a factor in getting Adikov's mind and head straight in the race again. Currently second behind Brian McKeever.
Really only would have lost 3 or 5 seconds there, I would think.
So another long distance race this for our visually impaired athletes. They've got the women's and men's races to come in the standing and the VI categories. It can get a little bit hectic when you get 2 races running simultaneously out on the track, but now we're concentrating solely on the men's visually impaired here.
So racing at Zhangjiakou started an hour and 50 minutes ago. Beg your pardon, 50, what am I saying? Yeah, an hour, nearly an hour and a half. So it's a busy scene. But this is when the officials earn their keep as well, making sure everything runs smoothly. Just once or twice there's been a little bit of a traffic jam out on the course. The athletes having to navigate their way through 65 as Grabowski.
Yeah, Grabowski turning his attentions to the cross country. He was down the order in the biathlon sprint event. So racing with a bib 62, Zhu He for China. And well, they're lifting up the level of everyone else in terms of the Chinese Nordic squad here. 2 more medals in the standing race just completed. And Zhu He here with his guide, Diao Xingguo. Modin.
Inola, Inki Inola, and from Finland.
Beg your pardon, Inki Inola there from Finland.
And you know he's got some endurance, having won a 5,000 metres at the National Athletic Championships just last year. But he's well down on the time of McKeever. Look at the sheer number of victories and medals, McKeever, and wonder if anyone will ever eclipse the tally.
A crazy run of success, and to maintain it for so long as well. First was in the Salt Lake Games of 20 years ago, a silver in the long distance there for McKeever, and he's just kept up the level through Torino and Vancouver. That was a big deal at those home games in Whistler 12 years ago now, and Sochi and Pyeongchang, where there were 3 gold medals for McKeever.
This is Ariyasu Ryohei, competed in rowing at the Paralympics in Tokyo just last year. Took up skiing to improve his. Ooh,
well,
fall
that's
there. Yeah.
Difficult. Ariyasu Ryohei, just too much speed into that corner, and the right-hander, and a hefty fall there, which costs him time. A difficult race already for Ariyasu Ryohei and his guide Fujita Yue. Down the order, I'm afraid, as well as the Norwegian Thomas Oxall and his guide Ole Martin Lid.
Back with Adikov.
So they're past the 15K mark, but Adikov with way too much time to make up here on McKeever, who is just going to coast it and bring it home unless something absolutely disastrous happens. in the final kilometres of this race. And Grabowski there of Poland. Grabowski, that's at 12.3, down the order as well, behind Modin, but ahead of Ariasu and Oxall. It really is a procession up at the front of this race for Brian McKeever.
Through the stadium they come, and the guide can have a look up at the big scoreboard and see how the race lies. But for Grabowski, a significant margin between him and McKeever. And that's exactly what the guide's doing, just giving the story back to Grabowski. Here's where we sit. Let's see what we can do. Coming through 15 Ks, so another 5 to be done.
Over 8 minutes off the pace. Now, Modin of Sweden. So 13.5 K, the last checkpoint for Modin. And his guide. Second race of these games for the Swede after his participation in the biathlon sprint event.
His best result in a comparative race, perhaps the silver medal at the 2017 World Championships over the longer distance. 3 silver and 2 bronze in previous Paralympic Winter Games. McKeever and Russell Kennedy.
Just over 2K to go then. And start this golden goodbye at Beijing 2022 in the best possible way for the champion Canadian Brian McKeever. Always the big favourite, but it's one thing being installed as a favourite. It's something else entirely, delivering on race day. But that is something that Brian McKeever has been accustomed to over the last 2 decades of phenomenal success.
He has an interesting perspective on the medals. He said, well, the medals are fine, it's nice. He said, but what I really am setting out to do is just train as hard as I can, do what I have to do to race well. And it seems to him that the medals are just a byproduct of what he really focuses on. And that's the training, that's the technique, that's the preparation of mind and body for race day. And he's done that so successfully over so many years. Yes, Salt Lake, you mentioned 20 years ago, and numerous world championships. So 30 medals, if you add them together, that are gold from world and Paralympic success. And this will be medal number 31 and Paralympic winter gold number 14 if he just brings it home from here. And he's talking openly about this being perhaps the end of the journey, these games. He's probably thought that before, so we won't say for sure, as only he knows, but he's thinking about it.
Well, in the absence of McKeever at the recent World Champs in Lillehammer, it was Jake Adikoff who stepped into the breach. But the Canadian Para-Nordic athletes didn't compete, actually, in Lillehammer. They elected not to send a squad, wanted to just reduce the chances of anyone getting COVID, as the focus was solely on these Paralympic Winter Games in Beijing. So Adikov, on the back of his first world title in Lillehammer, guided by Sam Wood, actually picked up a medal of each colour at those World Champs and won the middle distance race. Going to be on the podium here, but some way adrift of Brian McKeever.
Adikoff, software engineer. Took a couple of years off, back again. A lot of athletes make that choice, don't they, to freshen up. Makiva. The hair just graying a little, but the desire and the fitness as good as ever. One of those athletes, doesn't matter what the conditions are that they're facing, greater altitude, different kind of snow, he's prepared. Athletes in the Nordic and cross-country events through both sets of games have been seeking, when it's available, to do some high altitude training, because here we are at over 1,500 meters. The air's a bit thin. See there, Makiva just reaching forward to touch the stock of his guide. That's fine, as long as he's not getting a toe. He's just making sure he doesn't get a poke in the face.
Important not to underestimate the role these guys play. Of course, they get medals too.
Back now with Inola. And his guide, Yaritapo Uta. Change of skis there for Ariyasu. May just feel that the wax is broken down, or the conditions have... He's given the knee a bit of a twist there. Hope he's all right. Shaking it out. It's an awkward moment.
And the lead is increased. Adikov down to almost 3 minutes behind Makiva's mark here. So it's going to be one of the more comfortable victories in this long, illustrious, distinguished, medal-laden career of Brian Makiva. There he is, bib 68, 42 years young. Still not the oldest in this race, by the way. Still 6 years the junior of the Pole Grabowski.
One of the teammates taking photos on the way past to record another victory. How many photos of victories are there for Makiva? Well, the only sort available, I think, as he makes races his own time after time. A true great of his chosen sport.
Yep, 3 times a world champion in biathlon. Never got to the top spot of the podium in the Winter Paralympic Games in biathlon. It's been the cross country that has really brought the best out of Brian Makiva of Canada. Comes in for another wonderful victory, another accomplished display.
Just steps out and probably wants to ski past his guide here. He's got plenty left as Makiva comes down towards the finish.
Yep.
He's just too good every time.
He really is the most decorated male Paralympic cross-country skier of all time. Launches the golden goodbye here in Beijing 2022. It will be a 14th Paralympic Winter Games gold medal for Brian Makiva. He has absolutely bossed this men's long-distance classic.
He's almost apologetic.
VI race.
Almost apologetic with yet another victory. He said, well, this is how it's done. And there's no lack of humility. It's just a statement of how things are for this man as a Paralympic victory number 14 goes in the books.
And coming in for what will be a silver medal is Jake Adikov. By the way, Inola has moved up onto the podium above Zhu of China. So Finland on course here for a medal. And Adikov with his guide Sam Wood. and a great world champs.
Well, the Americans, you know, they get hold of those stars and stripes and always turn it into a good uniform. So we got a bit of a problem on the course there for the Chinese competitor, Zhu He. And that's where he's lost some time. And past him goes Inola. It's a very smart strip, isn't it, that USA one. Adikoff coming in minutes outside the time of McKeever, but setting himself up for a silver medal finish. Adikoff.
And another silver after his middle distance second place in Pyeongchang. Jake Adikoff, Oksana Masters with a silver medal on day one of the para cross-country skiing in the women's events. It's going to be another silver for the United States. And Jake Adikoff here. Over 3 minutes down on McKeever's time, but still a heck of an effort from Adikoff.
Yeah, his guide Sam Wood steps out of the way to give it an open run to the line for the exhausted Adikoff. Good job, he says. Absolutely. There's no shame in finishing behind the great McKeever, who steps out to congratulate him. He's had those mutton chops going for a long time, McKeever. It's his look.
So Modin. Oh, nearly there. So 58.54, the time of Adikoff.
Modin just reaches for the ski of the guide. Particularly, the other reason to do it is that at this pace, downhill, and then a little right-hander here. It's a safety thing as much as anything. Now, Inola coming across the line into third place. We'll see if he points to the sky.
So
good job.
Inola totally spent the best part of 3 minutes after Adikoff's time. And then Zhu outside the medals at 6:40 behind McKeever. So still to finish, Kabowski, Modin, Ariyasu.
It's a big improvement from Inola, isn't it? It was his 10th in the long distance 4 years ago, up into the medals. That's a significant improvement. He should be well proud of that. Young man from Norway at 23, so only 19 in Pyeongchang. Still maturing. This is a great result for Finland. Modin cresting one of the final rises. Can't stress enough, really, the time given by guides to train with and work with their skier. It's a huge commitment. I mean, not only do they have to be at least as good a skier as the competitor, but listening to Modin's guide there, Emil Jonsen Haag, he's got to have the energy and the oxygen to keep calling the instructions and the encouragement.
Yeah, so not long to go now for Modin and his guide. But Scandinavia being led by the Finns and Inela with that time of 1:01.34 in the bronze medal position. Just positive thinking now, just to bring it home for Modin and Sweden, with Ariasku and Gabowski of Japan and Poland elsewhere who've had really difficult races. That is Ariasu running at 1:05, nearly 1:05.30 here for the Japanese. That's 10 minutes behind the finishing time of Brian McKeever, our race winner. But a finish is a big deal in these Paralympic Winter Games. Modin at 55.46. 58.54, by the way, is the time of the second place finisher at present, Adikov, and Modin is given just about everything here.
He looks like he's really suffering now.
What has he got left here?
Not too much. Just a little update. We didn't actually have a start today from Thomas Oksal, a Norwegian. He was not able to take the start line. So it pulled it back to 7 starters in this vision-impaired long-distance race.
On the downhill, that's the moment to just take the pressure off a bit. Just push into the snow and use the hill to pick up a bit of speed.
Here comes Gabowski, the oldest man in the field at 48. And his guide, Jakub Twardowski.
So over 10 minutes down on McKeever, but over the line, and a finish that will add to the accomplishments of the Pole, Gabowski, 1:06.7. That puts him in 5th place at the moment, with Modin and Ariasu still to finish here.
Yeah, generous encouragement from his guide, Peter Gabowski. At 48, I wonder if this is his last Paralympic Winter Games. It's a hard thing to separate yourself from your chosen sport at this, or any level, really. It's such a big part of your life. It's hard for it not to define who you are. And I'm sure he's got other interests, and he'll have a chance to pursue those if he decides that this is it. He can always move on to another Paralympic sport. A lot of them do. But here's Modin. And Jonsen Haag.
Well, if he can get in the mid-101s, then there's an opportunity to put pressure on Inela's time in the bronze medal spot at the moment for Finland. But he really has tired and faded a bit over the last couple of kilometres of this race as Modin of Sweden.
It doesn't look like there's a huge amount of energy passing from body to the end of the stock as he pushes towards home. He has given it all out there. And perhaps it's the altitude. It certainly found out a few people in the endurance events in the last few weeks in Zhangjiakou.
Plenty of encouragement for the last push from the coaches, as well as Emil Jonsen Haag, that guide, just up ahead. And Modin in the slipstream
Only Modern and Ariyasu of Japan still out on the course. And the finish approaching for the Swede.
So 55.36, the time of Makiva. Adikov at 58.54. Inela 101.34. So Modin will push for the line here.
Yeah, should just about make it. We thought that Inela might hold on to that bronze medal position, but now it's absolutely under threat from Modin, who's pushing through the pain. He was a bronze medalist over the long distance event in Sochi and might just do it again here.
Well, he has.
Yeah, he will.
Brilliant pickup in the pace. Modin pushes Inela down into 4th place.
Big smile on the face of the guide as he looks up to the big screen and realizes that they have done it. That's a 3rd. Oh, and that makes the pain rather worth it, I'm sure, for Modin, who looked to be struggling over the last few Ks, but he has dug especially deep. And Inela comes over to congratulate him. And Makiva also. How many times have these men raced against each other?
Tough call out there. Good job. Good job, guys. Good. That's a hard heavy day, I think.
Couple more nations on the podium on this second day of the para cross country.
Oh, nice to catch a bit of that chat. The warm regard they hold for each other. We'll talk about race conditions, and it's just lovely to hear. It just sort of normalizes everything. Ariyasu will be last to come in. He's had a couple of problems today. A stumble here and there, change of skis. But the job is nearly done.
Yeah, already been a spectacular day of success for Japan with Kawayuki Taiki's win in the standing.
So Ariyasu, as mentioned, born in the United States, moved to Japan at a young age. Just 5 years old when the family moved back to Japan.
And important for Ariyasu to get a finish here. You mentioned the issues he's had earlier in the race with a change of skis, a couple of slips as well. The para rower for Japan competed at the Summer Paralympics last year in the mixed Cox 4 in the PR3 category. And I don't know the meaning of taking a little bit of time off during the winter sports season. He made a mission to be competitive in the para cross country skiing, and here he is finishing an Olympic final. Ariyasu Ryohei for Japan.
The skis find the tracks for one last time for Ariyasu. and will push it home as hard as he can. He can hear the support coming his way as the final competitor makes it down to the line. He feels the cross-country training will make him stronger in both sports, both rowing and skiing. And Ariyasu down to the line to finish the race for the vision impaired standing.
We have our finishers then. Makiva, Adikov, Modin, Inela, Shu, Gabowski and Ariyasu. Confirmation of the medals. They go to Canada, the United States and Sweden. Makiva, the magical champion Canadian, has won again his 14th Paralympic Winter Games gold. Well, more racing to come, as we see confirmation of the first race on the second day of the para cross-country skiing at Beijing 2022. And that was a gold medal for Japan, a brilliant wire-to-wire win for Kawayuki Taiki with China. 2 more medals, the silver and bronze there. Recognition ceremonies on the way as well before the women get out onto the racetrack. Some great moments there. Recognition ceremonies on the way here in the venue at the Zhangjiakou National Biathlon Centre.
What a day. What a day to do it. Clear skies, very mild temperatures. And the emergence of a real star in Kawayuki Taiki. So we started with a field of 17. We had a couple who couldn't quite complete the journey. Alexander Ehler of Germany and Dashtoj Sekmed of Mongolia. But completing the journey in style, these 3 men.
Well, this race was all about East Asia, wasn't it? China, 2 and 3. Top of the pile, Japan. And Kawayuki Taiki picking up the baton from Nita Yoshihiro.
We're trying to floor manage the position of the athletes. It's not easily done. This is a new thing, really, this recognition ceremony. It's a nice little acknowledgement of our place getters. 54 minutes, 29.7 seconds, the factored time for Chui Mingyang.
And para cross country medals 5 and 6 here for Japan. Shu with the bronze. Silver, Kai Jae-yun. He was at 1:43 behind the race winner.
He's a bubbly character, isn't he? He loves the stage, the occasion, the race, and his teammates and opposition. He's very warm reception he gave Kaioki as he came in to claim the victory. He mixes energy with technique.
Six Nation on the podium in the Para-Nordic events here at Beijing 2022. Japan and Kawayoki Taiki.
It's clearly new to them, the process. So where do I go next? Well, we'll make room for the next recognition ceremony, which should be for visually impaired race we've just witnessed.
What's going on? Hi, congrats. Good work.
Hey,
Nice.
thanks, sir.
Just waiting for here for a moment.
Okay.
Recognition ceremony for the men's long distance classic technique, vision impaired. No surprises here with the victory going to Brian McKeever. Jake Adikoff and Sebastian Moden of the United States and Sweden, respectively, coming in second and third.
Well, he's been here before, hasn't he? Just a bit. McKeever. So knows what it's all about. Takes this very much in his stride. It's a great battle for the bronze, by the way. Sweden and Finland, and Sweden just did it with Sebastian Modin.
Often a battle for Makiva to find a guide who's quick enough. You know, it's well storied that he nearly made the Olympic Canadian cross-country team. And with that in mind, considering how quick he has to be at that level, to find someone prepared to be and to commit to and to be fast enough. Anyway, it's Moden, a bronze medal. He's done it before in this long distance event in Sochi. And he really did have to give it everything. He looked to be completely out of gas, went to the reserve tank and somehow got there to keep Finland out of that third spot.
Jake Adikoff stepped into the breach when Makiva wasn't competing in Lillehammer at the recent World Champs. Has a silver with his guide Sam Wood. But the main man yet again, Makiva, 2 decades after his first Paralympic Winter Games gold medal. It's gold number 14 for Brian Makiva, and he absolutely blitzed the competition here.
This takes care of business once more and takes home the gold.
So that's our second recognition ceremony then. 2 races done, 2 races to go here on the 3rd day of the Nordic events, the 2nd day of the cross country here at the Beijing Paralympic Winter Games.
This is the scene at Zhangjiakou, not far away from the women's races. So do stay with us.